So I was kind of intrigued and interested, and I wanted to know more about that. I grew up Catholic, but never was really into it. As a matter of fact, before I went in, I was into like crystals, and my girl was into like reading tarot cards, and I was like kind of leaning towards praying to a Santa Muerte, and it was kind of getting out of hand. I was kind of losing myself.
Thank you guys for joining us on Ignite Fire Studios. We're here with another Ignite Fire testimony. We have Alex Sabino. He's going to be sharing his testimony. He has just come to the Lord and has received salvation last year at Arizona Christian University. He's going to share his testimony with us, who he was, what happened, and who he is today. And you're not going to want to miss this. Thank you, Alex, for coming into the studio and sharing your story. So tell us, who is Alex Sabino?
Thank you, Jacob, for having me here. I appreciate you inviting me over so I can share my testimony, and I hope you guys get something out of this. Anyone listening, I hope if you're struggling like I struggled, I hope this helps out a bit. So, again, my name is Alex Sabino, born in Paramount, California. Grew up in San Diego till about the age of 16, and then I moved out here to Arizona. Was involved in gangs, drugs, all kinds of stuff growing up. About like 5-6 years ago. Actually, it's about 8 years ago. I was living out here with my girlfriend at the time, and we were only together for about 5 years, I want to say. I was into building guns. I loved my guns. I woke up one night to my dog barking and a loud bang on the side of the house. To me, it sounded like someone crashed into my house, so I immediately grabbed a gun, ran outside, and come to find out, there was a car. I live in a cul-de-sac. There was a car, like, looked like it hit my neighbor's side of the house. There was a bush in the way, so when I went around the bush, I noticed that there was a guy pinned under the vehicle. It was on his motorcycle, and his wife was like trying to pull him out, and the car was still going. Like, the tires were spinning. There was rocks being like thrown up in the air from the tires spinning. So I immediately pointed my gun at the guy. I clicked on the flashlight on the gun and shined it on the guy. Got his attention, told him to back up, and he backed up, but he threw it in drive and came towards me. Again, I live on a cul-de-sac, so as he came towards me, I got out the way, and he went around, and I shot 3 rounds at the car, not knowing if I hit it or not. And I was pretty scared because I didn't know if I did hit the car. Maybe he was down the road bleeding out. Cops showed up, and I was just trying to be quiet, and someone, they came up, and someone just told us that whoever lives in that corner house shot some rounds off. And I was like, yeah, it was me. I was like, but I shot him off in the air to warn him off. And that was a big no-no. Here in Arizona, you're not allowed to shoot up in the air because of a law we got called Shannon's Law. So I kind of got myself in a hole there. I stuck with the story, and They took down my story, and they didn't take me in that night. They took my gun away. They said I'd be able to get it back, but it was going to take time to just keep in touch with the detective, follow up. And man, I was calling like every week, every 3 days, calling this detective, hey, my name's Alex. I'm just trying to get my gun back, and give me a call back so we can set this up. And months went by, and they finally called me, and they're like, hey, we want to release the gun to you. Are you able to come pick it up today? And I had a busy day that day, so I told them I couldn't. I wasn't gonna get home till about 7, or it was too late. And he's like, well, we're here all night. If you want to come down at 8, whatever, we're here. And I was like, no, you know what? Let's just do it tomorrow. I'll be there around noon. And that time came the next day, and I drove down there, walked into the precinct, and there was a gentleman sitting on one of the benches there, like it looked like he was waiting to be helped. I walked up there. The officer came up to the window and asked how he can help me out. And I told him I was there to see a detective. And he said, have a seat. He'll be out with you shortly. I'll let him know you're here. Sat down. Not even a minute later, they two sheriffs come out to the door. Doors open up. They're like, Alex Sabino. And I hear the guy behind me was like, Alex Sabino, get up, put your hands behind your back. And it was the guy that was sitting next to me. He was undercover. They arrested me right away. And while all this was happening, my house was being raided. My girl said they walked in there, they knocked on the door, she opened it, they had guns pointed at her, and they walked in, they searched the house, and man, it was intense. It was very intense. So I sat in a room for about an hour waiting for a detective to come talk to me, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm thinking in my head, like, did I actually hit this guy and they caught him and something happened? Like, maybe, so many things were going through my head. Finally, I talked to the detective and they brought up a past of 2013 where I got a DUI for marijuana at the time. And it was still, so I was pretty much a prohibited possessor. I shouldn't even had a gun on me. And I thought at that time, I did my probation. I remember I was paying off the payments of like the fees, the fines, but I never got to finish paying the remainder balance. And I guess after you pay the balance off, you're done with that. You're supposed to fill out paperwork to get your gun rights back. And I failed to do all that. So at that time, I was a mess. 2013. I was partying it up, smoking a lot of weed, and I thought, I'm done with probation. My rights are automatically back. So yeah, like, they were hard on me, man. They were, like, hey, you knew you shouldn't have had this gun, and that's why you built this gun, and that's why you bought this gun off of someone on a website. And they were really, really being tough on me. So I had to get a lawyer. My girl was like, hey, you need to get a lawyer. We need to this is a case we need to fight, because I'm looking at 2 to 7 years. And so I got a lawyer. I went and had a free consultation. And they, had me tell my story, and they told me, they sold me a story that, they were going to help me out, and that I was just going to do some house arrest and probation and no jail time, and that I was actually trying to help someone out. It was my fault that I wasn't aware of the fine, that I still the remainder balance and whatnot. I went ahead and went with them, and I paid them the money. I paid about $11,000. And in the end, after a couple months, or it was like a few months, like 4 or 5 months later, they finally came back with a plea bargain. And it was, I want to say it was 1 year and 8 months. It was almost 2 years. And that's not what I was told. I thought I was going to get house arrest and get some probation time. And they said, look, if you don't sign this and you fight it, if we have to go back in there and fight it, they're probably just going to give you you're going to get either 2 years or you're going to get the max of 7 years. So they were suggesting for me to go ahead and take this plea. And I was so pissed off. I was like, you know what? I don't want this. This is ridiculous. This is not what you guys told me. And I'll get back to you. Let me think about it. Give me a couple days. And eventually I fired them. And I went and asked for a public defender at the courthouse, and they assigned one to me. Finally got to meet the guy. And we sat down. I told him my story, and he said, give me some time, and I'll, let me see what I can do, and I'll get back to you. And about 2 months went by. He finally called me up and said, Mr. Sabino, I got a plea deal for you, and come on down to my office and we'll talk about it. And he presented me a 90-day plea deal. So if I took it, it was, I go do 90 days in county jail. And he also told me if I don't take it and I fight it, that I can get, minimum 2 or max 7. So I said, you know what, 90 days, it sounds better than the year and 8 months they were trying to get me through the lawyers I hired. So I went ahead and signed it, called my girl, told her, hey, I'm looking at 90 days, but don't worry, I'll be out. I'll be out. 90 days will go by quick. And so yeah, I finally came the day where I had to turn myself in. I got dropped off at the Lower Buckeye County Jail, and I, going to jail is never fun. Just the processing part. It's so many things going through your head. So I got in there, and right off the back, when you go to county jail, any prison, everyone's separated by race. So you got your Chicanos, which are your Mexicans, even the natives, they're become part of the Chicano, and then you got your blacks, you got your whites, and so everyone's ran, under kind of ran by their race, and I got in there, and right off the back, I clicked up with some guys there, and there was the guy in charge. His time was almost up. He was going to be getting out soon, and one of the guys I was in there with didn't like that guy because he was from a rival neighborhood. So me being a big dude, he told me, hey, let's join up and let's take over and run this pod. And I was like, you know what, I was like, let's do this, We ended up jumping this guy, and we took his position. And the guy I met, he put me in charge as the head Chicano, which is you're like the head, and then you got someone below you. And so I was in there, giving orders and checking making sure people's paperwork were getting checked, and collecting any kind of debt. And at the same time, if there was issues with, another race, with my race, we had to sit down with their guys, and try to figure out a solution to squash things. And I was liking this. For a minute, I was really enjoying this power. And then one day I just kind of got I don't know, it was like a message, like a vision. It was not really a vision because I didn't visualize it, but I just knew that if I didn't change my lifestyle and the way I was, going, and I just continued doing the same thing, that this was it for me. Like, I was just going to be in and out of jail until one day I was sitting in a prison cell for years. And so about a month or so into my 90 days, I decided to somehow get out, get moved to transfer to another pod. And I was told that you can go work at the kitchen. And so I applied for that. I put in a request to go work at the kitchen. And I think it was towards the end of my 2 months there, I got called up. This is Sabino, roll up. You're out of here. You're going to a different pod. I'm like, where am I going? You're going to the kitchen. So I was pretty happy. I said, okay, cool. I'm leave this to whoever wants to be in charge. They could take over. And I just wanted to go somewhere else and just concentrate on getting my time done and work if I had, which was cool because now we get to do something throughout the day instead of just sitting around and playing cards and whatnot. So I went into the kitchen pod, and same thing there. I mean, you got someone that's in charge of your race there. So I got to meet those guys, and I was like, yeah, I just got a month left, I'm just trying to get the hell out of here quick. And they're okay, they respected me, and I stayed away from that. And I would work and come back. We would come back to our beds around 11, and it was a little bit better in the kitchen help. You get to eat some better food, it's all provided by the I think it was St. Mary's Food Bank. So we ate a little bit better, but the time we were out there for 10 hours working, making these meals for everyone else, all the pods. Wake up in the morning, and they got peanut butter and bread and a little box of cereal and your little carton milk. And the milk was everything in there. It was nice ice cold milk. I was just like water in there. Like it's horrible, you know. You like rain. It's horrible. The food in there is horrible. But you know, I look forward to that milk and that cereal, and making me like a peanut butter sandwich. And one morning, this was probably like 3 days after being there. This guy named Juan walked up to me and said, "Hey, brother, you want my milk?" And I said, "Yeah, you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." And so I took the milk, and he said, "God bless you" to me, and you know, he walked away, and you know, every morning he would, like, for the first week, every morning, like, he was handing me his milk, and then I would notice he was always like kind of had a Bible, and he was reading his Bible, and so I was kind of intrigued and interested, and I wanted to know more about that. I grew up Catholic, but never was really into it. As a matter of fact, before I went in, I was into like crystals, and my girl was into like reading tarot cards, and I was like kind of leaning towards praying to a Santa Muerte, and it was kind of getting out of hand. I was kind of losing myself. So I started talking to this guy a little bit more, and I would go sit down with him during dinner and breakfast, and he would always pray before we ate, and so I took part of that, and then we would pray at night when we get back from work, and we would, you know, before we went to go to sleep, we would pray. And I got closer to that, and he finally, you know, he gave me a Bible, and I started reading my Bible. I was able to read the whole Bible within that month. A lot of reading, that's all you can do. There's nothing else in there but either walk around in circles in the little courtyard we got and play cards. So I just would read chapters after chapters every day, and I had him, I had two other guys, like 2-3 other guys that were kind of doing the same thing. We were, they were Christians, and we would pray together and pray for any of families that were going through any kind of sickness, and yeah, man, I got out of there. I got everyone's information. Finally, my day came, time to leave. Went home, and I had this, while I was in there too, I was also introduced to Kingdom Music, which was Brian Trejo and a bunch of other artists. But the only ones I was able to listen to on our tablets in there was Brian Trejo. And I was very, very intrigued by the music and the word and the message and the music. So when I got out, I was like, showing my girl, like, oh, listen to this guy. And I looked up more videos on YouTube, and I was, back to smoking weed, but it just didn't feel the same. I felt like I was like, you're going to go back into the same thing and fall back into, all the negative stuff. And my girl she has lupus, so she was dealing with kidney issues at the time. And yeah, it was pretty hard. I think I smoked for about 2 weeks. We were smoking, and she smoked with me. She don't take no pain pills, so like weed was always like a go-to, for her to control her pain. In the back of my head, I knew I wanted to, get back into church and reading that Bible and kind of introduce that to her. She also came from like a Catholic family, and she knew about she knew about Jesus, but we weren't fully dedicated, So eventually, it's weird how it happened. I somehow, I think it was Facebook, that like a little flyer thing popped up for an event with Brian Trejo, or maybe I was following Brian Trejo, and he posted that he was going to be out here in Arizona at the Arizona Christian University. And man, I was like, what? Like, I want to go meet this dude. Like, yeah, like I couldn't wait. I saved the date on the calendar. I told my girl, hey, like, we're going to go. We were already seeing other events going on with him, and we were seeing how it's a revival, people getting baptized. He was baptizing people. And I was like, I told my girl, hey, I want to get back into church. I want to get, start going to church. And I couldn't tell her that I wanted to quit smoking weed because I didn't know how she was going to take it. And I loved her so much. I didn't want her to be like, oh, like, well, I'm not going to quit, like, I need it. I just wasn't ready for that kind of response. So yeah, we saved the date, and you know, we started going to like Catholic church, and it was just a little off. I didn't feel at home. I go in there, they, no hat on. People would look at me like I got these stares, and also, there's so many saints that they prayed to, and like it was just kind of confusing. No, like the worship was different. Like it's way different. So the day finally came when the week came when it was close for the event at ACU, and during that time, my girl wasn't feeling too good. She was like her kidneys were really shutting down on her. She had gone into the hospital, and they told her kidney was pretty bad. So that day came for ACU, and I told her, hey, it's like, you want to go? It's going to be tomorrow. You ready? She's like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to go because I'm in pain. I'm not feeling too good. I was like, well, we'll see how you feel tomorrow. Woke up that day and she was in pain. So she ended up not going with me, but I went. And in the back of my head, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to get baptized, but I don't want to get baptized with. I want her to be there. I want her to get baptized with me. And I know if I get baptized, I'm gonna have to leave, stop smoking weed, stop drinking, everything, just everything, And so I wasn't really planning on getting baptized that day. I just wanted to go hear Brian, hopefully meet him. But I knew that he had canceled. He himself didn't make it out. He had posted something that he wasn't going to be there. So I went anyways because I was listening to Antoine Hill too and Brandon Trejo. They had good music out, and I showed up. And right off the back, as soon as I walked into the gate, everyone was nice. No judgment. Like I didn't get that judgment feeling or welcoming. And I saw Antoine and Brandon Trejo walking around, so I went up to them and got to talk to them. I got to have a conversation with Antoine Hill about how, like about me wanting to stop smoking weed, and my girl too. I wanted to tell her, but I just didn't know how. And he also used to smoke a lot of weed, and his girlfriend too. And he told me how they had a change in their lives. Gave me some words of encouragement and prayed for me, which was amazing. Some amazing words he said in prayer. So I went on to go enjoy the rest of the event, and I got to see the talent go up there and perform. Antoine and Brandon, Ignite Fire. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden they said, hey, we're going to have baptisms going on the side over here. If anyone wants to get baptized, give themselves to the Lord, come on to the side. And I was, like I said, I wasn't going there for that. I wasn't. So I just kind of stood there and was watching the rest of the talent perform. And something kept telling me to look over. Something was trying to get my attention. I finally looked over to my left, and a pastor was waving his hands. And when I looked over, he pointed at me and he said, you, like, I'm like, me? He said, yeah, you, come here. And I was like, right there and there, and I already knew, like, okay, like, this is it, I'm gonna get baptized. Like, I couldn't deny him. And I walked over there, and he told me that I was gonna go out and do a lot of amazing things, help out a lot of people, and that I was gonna be a pastor. And I was like, no, there's no way. So he finally, he told me if I'd accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I said yes. I went under that water and came out crying like a baby. It was just weird because I just felt this love, like, and I felt like the weight off my shoulders, everything that I've been dealing with, depression, anxiety, everything was just gone. I just felt like loved, and I'll never forget that feeling, man. And it was amazing. I went off to the side to dry off. I had a couple come up and pray for me, and they told me the same thing, that I was going to go out and help out some people, help out a lot of people, and that I was going to make a big impact in people's lives, and that I was going to be a pastor. I was like, that's two people in a row. Like, how how is this possible? Like, he wasn't even there when he told me that. Like, I was just blown away. And yeah, I dried off, and the event that was it. It was finishing off, and I was happy. I went home, drove home, very happy, ready, like just couldn't wait to tell my girl what happened. And I told her, and I didn't get the response that I was hoping for, like her being happy for me. She was actually pretty upset that I got baptized and she wasn't there. And it turned like she was like, or she wanted to argue with me, and I didn't want to argue, because I know before I was baptized and all that, like when I get into arguments, I turn into a mean person and say things that I regret. And I didn't want to say anything that I would regret the next day. So the best thing for me to do was say, I'm just gonna walk away. I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to argue with you. I love you, and I walked out. And I went out for about an hour and had a little alone time and spoke to God and asked Him for help, and to like somehow have her see the things that I want, and for her to find peace and also walk this path with me. And I went back home. She was already asleep. I went to sleep myself, but usually every morning I would wake up and go smoke weed. First thing I would do. This next morning I woke up and grabbed my Bible that I had, and sat down on the kitchen table, and I just remember opening my Bible, and that was it. I don't remember anything after that except waking up in an ambulance. And I kind of woke up in panic, and the guys around me were like, lay back down, calm down, you just had a seizure. And I was asking for my girl. I'm like, where's my girl Alyssa? Where's she at? And like, well, she's following us to the hospital. Don't worry, she's coming. So she got to witness that. That morning was a little awkward. Like, we were quiet. Like I said, I went down there, opened my Bible, and she got to witness me having a seizure, and she really freaked out. She thought I was having a heart attack or something. She apologized. She said she has no idea what got into her. She was sorry for the way she acted, that she should have been happy for me, and she is happy for me. And, I told her that her time would come, like she would get her baptized. And so we would try to find a church. We'd go to a couple other Catholic churches, and nothing. So we just kind of stayed home, and we were reading our Bible. I got her a Bible. She had gone into the hospital for almost a month. Her kidney got really bad. They were even thinking about doing a kidney transplant, but they went with a dialysis to try that out first, and hopefully her kidney would kick back up. So yeah, I got her a Bible, and she would read it. We would, read together. And during that time, she was listening to a lot of like Caleb, like her favorite artist was Lauren Daigle at the time. And she finally got out that hospital, and I kept following Ignite Fire, and they had little events here and there that I wanted to make it to. I just never made it. And then they had a worship night, and I said, hey, let's go down to this church, and they're gonna have worship night. I want you to go down there and see how it goes, And we went. I got to meet Paul, which was one of the other guys from Ignite Fire that had that event at ACU, and got to meet his wife, got to meet Jacob in person, and they were very excited that, someone from their event that got saved was coming around. And that night we began worshiping, and Paul and Gabby came and pulled us off to the side, me and my girl, and they prayed for her. Because I had told them what she was going through, and they prayed for her, and we broke out in tears. Like we felt the Holy Spirit that night. It was real. We went home. We prayed. We were so happy for these people. They gave us their numbers, and we were just happy to have some good people in our lives. And about 2 weeks later, my girl was going dialysis every 2 days, and they finally said, where your numbers are going up, your kidneys are kind of working good on their own. And they took her off dialysis, and we just know that was the work of God, and we've been faithful ever since. I've been with her for about 8 years, and I always wanted to get married. I think after the 5th year, I knew she was the one, but I just, like money, like how am I going to do this? I know weddings are expensive. And, I talked to Paul, and they're like, dude, we can, we'll make it happen. And he's like, I'll buy the cake. And I was like, maybe Jacob can get us married. And I was like, you know what, like, let's do it. Like, I'm gonna get the ring. I knew Lauren Daigle was coming into town, so I wanted to get her some tickets for that show, and I did. My biggest concern is how I was gonna get that wedding ring in there, and I finally, something told me to call the arena where they were having the event, and I called like 2 days before the event. And it worked out pretty good. I got to talk to security, and they wanted to help me out, and they connected me to the right person. And they said, well, we have our camera crew out there during the first 3 songs. If you want to pick out a song, we'll know where you're going to be seating at, and we'll record it. We're going to promote it, put it on the big screen, and congratulate you guys. So I picked song number 3, of course, because it was like too much for me. I was like, well, I was so nervous about it. And on the way up there, the lady messaged me, said they wanted to do something more special. Lauren Daigle wanted to help out and be part of it. That she wanted to get us up on stage, and I was just like, wow, like, they sent me the song list for the concert. They said, if I go up there to, not take too much time and don't get out of hand, because if I got out of hand, they would snatch me off the stage. Security would snatch me off. So, I was counting down these songs. It was supposed to be after song 7, so I'm counting these songs down. We're having a great time enjoying the concert. And after song number 7, sure enough, she called her name out, and we raised our hands, and she said, all right, follow security. They pulled us off, took us up on stage. Meanwhile, she's saying that I had a beautiful story to tell, and I'm like, what is she talking about? I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I'm nervous. So I kind of just left it in God's hands, and as soon as I got up there, like the nervousness, everything went away. I looked up, and it was like full. It was a sold-out event, about 15,000 people. And the only first thing that came to mind was just give a testimony, small, short version of my testimony, how God has moved in our lives, and how the wonders that God has done in her life. And then I flipped it on her and said, Lisa, we've been together so long that I know you're the one. And right there, when you could hear everyone like already kind of like knowing what was going to happen. And I got on that one knee and proposed, and she said yes. And it was an unforgettable night. Like we'll never forget that night. Hopefully we have some kids and we can tell that story to them someday. And we were treated like celebrities on the way out. Everyone recognized us. They were like, hey, congratulations. People were honking at us in the parking lot, yelling out congratulations. Waking up that next morning, it was like, did that really happen? Was that a dream? Like, we were just so excited about it, man. And to tell you the truth, that's all works of God, that he's been doing all these amazing things in our lives. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. And I want to thank everyone that I've met so far, all the guys at Ignite Fire, the worship team. They're just amazing people. I'm so glad that they're in my lives. And I just, Jacob, thank you again for having me here and sharing this story with you. And anyone out there that's going through any kind of struggles, depression, addictions to anything, all I can say to you guys is turn to the Lord. Pick up the Bible, start reading, go find some friends that are in, Christian friends, and surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and just glorify him in any way you can. And I guarantee you that your stress, your depression, all that will go away. Any addiction will go away. Like, you don't even have to go to classes for help if you just put your trust in the Lord and give yourself to Him, He'll handle it for you. And I thank you, everyone out there, for joining us and listening to my story. And God bless you guys. You guys take care.